Hi, I'm Stephanie Macadaan, a licensed marriage and family therapist practicing in Los Angeles. I work with couples and I work with individuals that are going through a life change, which is most often a breakup or a divorce. Currently, I'm running a support group for women coping with divorce, where we meet weekly and sort of help each other through the process. And I'm also writing a book called Moving Beyond the Breakup, a month-by-month guide to your first year after divorce, designed to just be support for that really difficult time. That's kind of a complicated question, and it's unique to each person in many ways. But what I always say is it's not uncommon to feel guilt when you're taking care of your own wants and your own needs. So many of us are used to prioritizing other people, but often then are left feeling like we're not getting what we want. So I like to just point out that it's normal to feel guilt when you're doing something that someone else doesn't like, but it doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't okay. So hopefully just having that realization is helpful. Part of it is really just having open communication and allowing the other person to have the reaction and the feelings that they're going to have. Oftentimes, when we break news to someone that they're not expecting or wanting to hear, we're hoping that they're just going to understand our point and go with it and not kind of have feelings that make us feel guilt and other things that are difficult to sit with. So it's really just feeling comfortable saying what you need and want, and feeling comfortable enough to let the other person have their reaction to that, and understand that it may not go smoothly and it may not always be easy, but it doesn't mean you're doing the wrong thing. So I often get a lot of questions about dealing with children because people are so worried about how a divorce is going to impact the kids. So the first thing is, again, open communication, being honest with them in what's going on and the changes that are going to happen. I always say, don't, say negative things about your ex, your other partner, because that puts the children in an awkward position and it's more information than they need to be burdened with. Another good thing is to always remind them that it doesn't have anything to do with them. It's not their fault. It's nothing they've done. Because kids tend to kind of personalize things that happen around them and feel like they're somehow responsible. So making that point is really important. And just being honest that, this is a decision that you've had to make, and as hard as it is, and as much as it's going to have an impact, it's the change that's going to happen right now. Well, I'm of the belief that continuing in a relationship that you're not happy in and maybe has some unhealthy dynamics can actually be more damaging to children and families than getting a divorce and separating. And also, getting a divorce doesn't mean you're destroying a family. There's all kinds of co-parenting arrangements nowadays that can be worked out depending on what each of you are comfortable with. And the family can actually still function in some ways. So it's another complicated question because there's so many unique factors to it. But oftentimes, it has to do with sort of experiences you had in your past relationships that impacted your current relationship and even how you view relationships in general. And then together with your partner, probably some dynamics that were established that weren't super healthy. A common one is, feeling suffocated in the relationship, feeling like there's no room outside of the relationship, that you've given up a large part of yourself. But there's a variety of different reasons that you could fall out of love with your partner. But I think it really is an important question to explore as you move through the divorce and move on to another relationship, because oftentimes people get out of one relationship and without repairing anything, move into another one and experience the same exact thing. So it is important to get to the bottom of that. And therapy is a great way to do it. Question is focusing on judgment, which is so common when we're going through a change in our life and a divorce. There's so much often self-doubt and worry and fear, and we tend to turn it on ourselves and judge ourselves. Are we a bad person? And I just think that we're all doing the best we can as we go through life, and really difficult situations come up and things that all of us have to deal with in our lives. So rather than looking at it as, am I a bad person? I like to think of it as, I'm making this decision for myself. I really feel it's the right decision at the moment. But leaving the judgment out of it is going to be so helpful, because what you're going through is already hard enough. Well, a couple don'ts that, again, it's kind of a general question, but a couple don'ts that I often recommend is, nowadays social media is so prevalent, and what I've seen with clients is them getting in a tough spot by either sharing too much on social media, which can feel like an overexposure hangover and be difficult to deal with after. Although in the moment it can feel tempting to use it to vent and get your feelings out there. But also comparing yourself to others, especially when going through a divorce, it can be easy to look on Facebook and see pictures of couples or families and feel like you're somehow less than that, or not as good now that you're getting a divorce. So being really conscious of the effect that social media can have in different ways. Another thing I say is, be open to looking at how you can grow and get stronger and empowered through this process. Struggles and challenges are going to happen in all of our lives, and you can either let them kind of weaken you and wear you down, or you can say, no, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to end up stronger than I was before. So if you look for the ways to grow from it, I think that can be really an easier process. And then another thing I often recommend is to not get into another relationship right away. It can be tempting because we so want to fill that hole that's left when we lose a relationship. But it's really a temporary fix, and it's best to heal and learn from the ending of your relationship before getting into another one. And then another do that I have is really focusing on self-care. There's a saying I love that says, be the person you needed when you were younger. And I feel like this is a time to really be that empathetic, compassionate person for yourself, and do what is going to nourish you and get you through the hard times. So that could be like meditation, exercises, starting a new hobby, taking a nice bath in the morning, whatever it is that